Welcome to my talk, where I'm gonna show you actual lessons from my personal experience of how I've transformed my team's productivity using GenAI technologies. Let's get started. But first, I want you to meet Adir. Adir is that AI guy or girl, that guy that everything he does is deeply connected to AI and it's been that for a while. He used ChatGPT way before it was popular. He no longer codes as he has different agents doing all the work for him. There is not a thing that he hasn't an MCP for. And I guess that his favorite song is "Attention is All You Need." And he even knows what GPT actually stands for. Adir seems to be miles away from anyone when it comes to AI. And when the time where machines will take over, he'd probably be okay. Now I bet that any one of you has someone in their close friends or their LinkedIn network that is kind of like Adir. And today I want to help you to become closer to that person. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Dennis. I'm the Director of AI Engineering at Elementor. We are the #1 platform in the world for web creation. I'm in this industry for 17 years, 7 of which I've been practicing AI, way before it was considered cool. I'm on a mission to build AI products and transform my team, my company, and other companies in the world to be AI powered and AI driven. So today I want to walk you through several examples, actual lessons learned from my experience of how AI completely transformed the way I'm working with my team. I'll show you practical examples, actual things that worked, as well as things that didn't work. And finally, I'll share my playbook of how to transform a team and a company into an AI powerhouse. Let's get started. So let's roll back a little bit to the turning point that changed everything. And when I say BC, obviously I mean before ChatGPT. So it seems miles away that November 2022 announcement of ChatGPT, which very soon afterwards led to the GitHub Copilot announcement. And now it seems so obvious, right? They simply autocomplete the code. Like it's not that unique anymore. But if you try to remember, that completely changed the way developers started to work. But for me, the actual turning point was the beginning of Cursor, this agentic AI IDE that doesn't only complete the code, but actually writes code for you. So let's see how we started adopting Cursor, because I know it's a hot topic now. Before we started working with Cursor, developers used to work with VS Code or other IDEs. Most of them were working in JetBrains environments, whether it's PyCharm, WebStorm, PHP Store, etc. I know that, and we allowed developers basically to keep working with their IDEs, but we also encourage them to use Cursor for different stuff. I know many companies, other companies, have a different approach. They basically block the usage of other IDEs and force the developers to work only with Cursor, which creates frustration. So from my experience, the fact that we didn't force it and let them work alongside their familiar IDE with Cursor actually allowed them to use the Cursor for the beginning and gradually gaining the trust of actually working with this IDE for their need. Nowadays, the adoption was completely organic. Most of the people, I would say 99, even 100%, work in Cursor and not in any other IDE, and we didn't force it on anyone. I think this is the better approach.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great talks here, but what I'm really looking forward to, and I've been to a couple of these GitNation shows, panel talks, when you're with a whole bunch of other people, you're getting these great conversations going on. That's really fun.
So let's see what developers started to do and how we encourage them to actually utilize this tool. So I bet many of you have a Slack channel where you post pull requests for your team members to review them before you merge them. And usually you kind of open up this channel and you see a message like this one, and you don't really know, has someone reviewed this PR yet? Was it merged? Should I review it? And then you get inside this PR and you see that it actually was already reviewed and merged. So basically you went out of context, entered this PR, and it's already reviewed. So unless you actually want to learn from pre-existing PRs and you just want to help a friend out, you actually wasted your time. And we all know the effort of leaving context switch. So one of the developers created a very cool script. It took him, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes of work using Cursor that connects Slack and GitHub. And basically, it has a webhook on every comment on a pull request, or whether it's already approved and merged, and it automatically adds emojis of a comment and a V and a check mark if the PR is already approved. This way, other developers can know whether their review is required or if this PR has been already reviewed. It's a small thing, but think about all the minutes that you waste around your day of doing things you shouldn't, and all the time that's being wasted on redundant context switches. And what I want to emphasize here, that we can revolutionize the work we as engineers are doing by utilizing things like Cursor, because before that, I guess no one would think of starting to research how do you connect GitHub and Slack and doing all this stuff. But now it's a matter of several prompts and you have a working solution that changes the way your team work. So this was the beginning. Another great example was, for those of you who work in GCP, know it's very hard to update secrets in the secrets manager. It's risky, it's not convenient. So what one of my developers did, again, with less than 15 minutes of work, he created a new UI on top of the GCP secret manager, where you can easily see the key and the values, and you can update, and you have a confirmation message, and you see exactly what's changing. And this thing reduces the number of incidents and potential issues and allows change management to be easy, unlike how it was before. And again, it's a small idea of what am I doing that wastes my time, or I'm hesitant in doing it. And now, how can code or AI that will write this code for me make my life better? Another example is an environment switcher. Again, same idea. We had a process that you need to shut the server, update an environment variable, restart it, and run it again. The developer wrote a simple PHP script that does it for them. It's PHP because it's on top of WordPress. And this developer doesn't even know how to write in PHP, and Cursor just did it for him, which again saves lives, not only for that developer, saves time, not only for that developer, but for the entire team. And now, basically, what happens is we have a culture shift, because engineers using AI are empowered to create tools and scripts and different hacks to accelerate their work, to streamline their work, and reduce manual and repetitive tasks, and eventually becoming more efficient using those small but effective AI hacks. Let's move on and see how we started to expanding our actual engineering capacity with AI agents. And for that, I gotta say that we love Devin. Devin is not only an AI agent, it's an actual AI full-stack engineer. It has a working environment and it's connected to Jira and Slack. So engineers, or even like in this example, Shilofer is a product manager, can actually tag Devin in different discussions, tell him, hey, do these tasks. And Devin, which is connected to Slack, spins up their working environment, understands what it is they need to do. They have a really cool feature of confidence where they specify how confident is Devin in actually doing the work, and eventually they come up with a pull request. And since Devin is connected to the environment and has a working environment, he even runs tests, and if something fails, he tries to fix it. And it's truly amazing for some type of tasks. Now, another cool feature in Devin is their deep wiki. Basically, it scans the code and creates a huge and robust documentation of the entire code base that is being updated every time a new code is being added and every time Devin is doing another pull request, which is very helpful by itself, as anyone can just ask AI questions on top of this our code base and get answers and specific pinpoints to the specific files. Which is really, really cool. It's so cool what we actually started doing, adding Devin to our daily stand-up meeting, where every engineer says what he was doing yesterday and what it is they're doing today. And now we actually go through and see what's Devin's status on different tasks. It's so cool because we've actually started expanding our capacity to and delegating a lot of different small to medium tasks to Devin. We gain capacity. We empowered non-engineers, product managers, QA designers to actually develop stuff by themselves, and reducing their need for an engineer to change some pixel perfect setup, or answer some questions, or change text, or even activating a feature flag in several environments. It's so cool. And we should definitely see that the small stuff have been completely delegated to Devin. And as the models improve, I believe more and more features, more and more complicated features will be delegated as well. That brings me to another area that was completely transformed since AI entered our life, which is onboarding of new employees. All of us know that new employees struggle to get up to speed fast. They need to understand context of service, historical context of software and different technological decisions, need to find the right person for different tasks to answer their questions. It's not the easiest time of engineers in the beginning. Now using AI, we have Devin, as I mentioned earlier, and also Rovo. It's Atlassian AI, and our new engineers completely have transformed the onboarding process by leveraging those two tools. Let's see how. So first of all, as I mentioned, Devin has a full understanding of how code works. So engineers can simply ask Devin questions, like if they need to initialize MongoDB and they're not sure how to do it, or where should they update their own key, they can ask it and it will answer it exactly on the code base, without the need to write a message on Slack, waiting for someone to respond, waiting for the buddy to finish a meeting. Devin is their buddy. And Rovo is a very cool AI tool as well. Since Atlassian have Confluence and Jira, it means that Rovo is connected to both Confluence and Jira. So you can ask a lot of questions about different tickets, about different insights from different Confluence pages. But also a very interesting use case that we found is who is the right person to ask a specific question. So let's say here we're asking a question, we see that Rovo is analyzing both Jira tickets and Confluence pages, and look at this amazing response. He provides not one, but several people that actually touched this area of the product, but he then, you see, I'll already say he and not it. And then it actually pinpoints to a specific person who most likely is the right person to talk to. Think of the alternative. This new engineer would ask someone that someone would point him to a different person, and then to a different person, and then to a different person. And luckily, maybe after several context switches like that, he would actually get to the right person. With Rovo, not only he get all the information, he actually gets to the right person faster. So new engineers are much more independent utilizing those tools. they can deepen their knowledge because they can always ask follow-up questions. Like in the Mongo example, we can try to ask what other databases exist, why is this connection utilizes this type of authentication or something else, and Devin will follow up and answer them, which is really cool. And Rollo can pinpoint specific Jira tickets or retro pages from Confluence that led to a specific decision that was made. It saves time, and a really cool side effect to encourage everyone on the team to really invest in creating good documentation, because as long as we have good Jira tickets, have sufficient details and context in Confluence, and the code is written in a good way, then those tools can really be effective and useful. Now, let's see what GenAI did to increase our code quality and improve the information flow. So I bet all of you are familiar with this time of the day. Now it's on a daily basis, where a new model is being introduced and a lot of excitement. Wow, look, it created so many files, it did so many things, it was so fast. And then usually a small comment would be, nothing worked, but wow, it was so fast, it was so cool. So yeah, models become faster, they become stronger, but sometimes, especially in a production environment, in a real engineering, in a multiple engineers team environment, it usually feels like an elephant in a china shop. You ask it to do something and it does completely different stuff. And it's not being consistent from time to time. Here we found that every time we need to actually formalize something, the use of cursor rules on not only on the individual basis, but on a team basis, and even on a company basis is very useful. Because if you think about it, I would say that solid principles, clean code, probably relevant to any engineering team or organization. However, some teams will need specific React rules, while others need specific Python rules. That's great. So what we've created a centralized repository that the entire company inherit the cursor rules, starting from the basics that are relevant to everyone, and then specific on the language, on the theme, on the experience, on the team level, so that cursor will be constrained and guided to generate output that's actually expected of it. And now interesting use case of how we improved our quality is by actually having an AI-powered code review. Now, since the beginning of GitHub Copilot, we looked for a way to have an AI-powered code review. However, we tried multiple tools and none of them actually generated good insights. Most of them were garbage, to be honest. So what we've done is, and it's relatively new. On our GitHub instance, we have GitHub Actions. What we actually did, we installed the Cursor CLI. Now, why Cursor? Many of those AI-powered tools have their own system prompt of how they define the process of looking for and doing a code review. That's actually not something it's actually something that you would want to control. And usually those tools have a generic ideas and you want something specific for your team. This is exactly the difference between a tutorial tool to an actual production use case tool. So in many of those tools like LinearB, Rabbit, even GitHub Copilot, you can define the actual system prompt to tailor the code review for your needs. Cursor, on the other hand, you can define the system prompt and it's already connected to your Cursor rules. So you can actually scan the code, see which rules are being violated, and then using that specific system prompt, you can actually generate insights that actually matter. So instead of wasting time and feeling that, yeah, I have AI doing a code review for me, but actually it generates redundant comments, here it generates actual comments that engineers can look at and review and resolve even before they ask other team members to review the code, which is really, really cool and a real time saver. And lastly, something that I think people tend to overlook is the importance of information flow and knowledge sharing. Think of all those times where you started a question in Slack and then you generate a thread with tons of different messages, which eventually resulted in the understanding that there is a bug or some feature or some task that needs to be done. And now who will be actually summarizing this entire Slack thread and putting it into Jira? Zapier AI would. So Zapier is a very familiar tool. It has tons of different integrations, and now we actually added an AI node to those Zapier actions. So in this example, you have tons of different messages, and Zapier is connected to Slack. It summarizes the entire thread, and creates a very nice Jira ticket with all the information there, with a link to a Slack thread. And this is how, again, we don't waste time on crafting Jira tickets and getting out of context. Simply simply as part of the Slack thread, you call Zapier, tell it to open a ticket, and it does that. Not only that, we also integrated another cool feature that everything on a monthly basis can scan the entire release Slack channel, extract all the recent releases from the pull requests, along with different Loom videos, recordings of different features, and based on some format, it creates a very cool newsletter that then we send to the entire company to see our latest releases. It saves a lot of time, because in the past, a manager would need to ask every person to do that manually, and now it just happens in a matter of minutes, which is really, really cool. So we saw how we streamline communication. We see how the code review can be actually AI powered and relevant using Cursor CLI. And we also saw how using Cursor rules makes our life easier and creates the necessary guardrails on the AI output. Lastly, I want to talk about how we actually close the loop and get priceless insights on top of our data. So I think every product has a lot of data. You have forms that users submit, different bug reports, thumbs up and thumbs down, indications, recorded conversation, analytics, data inserts, whatever. This information is gold, and it's sometimes really hard to detect interesting insights from it without manually going through tons and tons of records and hopefully connecting the dots. So here is a very cool example. If you'll take a dump of some of those data points, let's say user feedbacks, and you put it as a huge file in Notebook-LM, Google's Notebook-LM. So besides the podcast feature that everyone's familiar with, it has another really cool feature like this one. It's called a mind map. It takes you can dump it with unstructured text, and it categorizes it to high-level categories and the low-level categories. So in this example, in this example, you can see how we submitted different user feedbacks. It categorized it into 4 main categories: suggestions, bugs, overall sentiment, positive feedback, negative feedback, and then you can drill down into any of these categories and see what's common and what's repeating itself from the user feedbacks. This is priceless information for a product manager or quality engineer. On top of that, we actually have AI agents running in the background and trying to come up with additional insights and finding anomalies and even suggesting different fixes. If you scan this barcode right here, you can see how Naor from my team has actually shared the way we run those agents that look at the data, come up with different clusters, basically group similar requests together and try to come up with similar or different types of problems that the AI thinks make certain requests and certain features misbehave. This is really cool. I won't go too deep into this. I suggest you to read this blog post. And yeah, the output is a Slack message to our QA and our product with different insights of features that are not doing an expected, don't generate the expected outcome, and they come up with ideas of what might be the reason for it. So use your data, connect AI in a secured way to your data, instruct it into what is it you're looking for, and let it run. You'll be surprised how much insights it can generate. All right, so we saw that AI can really revolutionize the way teams work, becoming more efficient, being more data-driven, and raising their bar and quality. But how to create an environment where AI is being adopted, not only by a team, but by an entire company, especially now when there's such a race and every day something new happens in this world. Sometimes it actually, I love this picture because it's so true. It's so hard to keep up with AI. So what are we doing about it? First, we created an AI guild and a champion in every team. So in every engineer team, we have someone who is supposed to be the AI advocate for the team. They share different use cases, they share achievements, they're responsible on making sure that this team knows how to use AI, and they share with other guild members challenges, and they ask for advice on how to resolve those issues. In every sprint retro, besides talking about the sprint, we have a dedicated spot, where we ask the team where AI can be leveraged to be better. So we can be better, the process will be utilized. This is wonderful because it kind of forces everyone to stop and think about this area and try to come up with, all right, I think that actually I can be more efficient if this and this will happen. We have a Slack channel where we share achievements. We conduct workshops of different AI tools that we believe other teams can benefit from it, and we measure the usage of different AI tools so we can see if any team is struggling or not adopting it and different tools in a way that we would expect it. And there, usually the AI champion and the guild will try to understand what's the reason that the adoption is not as good as we would expect. So not everything is shiny. Some things don't work, and I want you to learn from that. So AI is a big hammer. It's a great tool, but it can't solve everything at once. So when we wanted the entire company to fully scale and start using AI in all the different domains, all the different technologies, it simply didn't work. You have to start small. You have to be specific, gain the trust, gain the confidence, and only then scale to other teams, to bigger projects. Start with the simple stuff of generating content, of writing code, and then slowly but surely expand by sharing the different achievements. If you don't have sufficient documentation, if your Jira ticket has just titles, it will be very hard to leverage tools like Rovo and Devin. So you need to invest in documentation early on. And lastly, something that has happened, and I saw it firsthand in my team, is over-reliance on AI. Basically, AI is amazing, and engineers get so excited in using it. So they get so excited that they start to fully rely on it and stop checking it. So the output eventually becomes very messy. They don't have the ownership, because you can actually hear people say, oh no, Cursor did that, it's not my bug. No, it's your bug, you're a feature owner. and lastly, they're simply losing this engineering mindset of a critical thinking, of coming up with creative ideas, and not simply relying on Cursor. If you can scan this barcode, you'll see a lecture of me speaking about exactly this topic of how engineering management is actually changing in this AI era, and where I share different challenges that I had with the team and how I overcame them. So go ahead and scan that. And so, what do you think worked well? And I think it can work well for you as well. So, as mentioned, champions and guilds, sharing achievements, create those custom rules that can help you and your team and your company. Also remind the team members that still they are in charge, not the AI. So you also should maybe even document human rules of what's expected from engineers when they use AI. Invest heavily in documentation. You can only benefit from it. And put this AI question in every retro and in different meetings, and so you'll be proactive in finding different ways and areas where AI can actually help. Share achievements, share as much as possible, because when people see other people succeed, we want to do that as well. And lastly, make sure to measure and track progress and adoption, and address areas where you think that it's something not working as you would expect. Usually it means that maybe there's some challenge, some lack of knowledge, and this is exactly where your AI guild can help and make sure this team or this person overcomes this challenge and adopts AI in the way you would expect. All right, so remember our AI guy that knows everything about the AI. So I want you to take, basically I want you to remember that every idea was once an offer. An offer is someone who's just in their beginning of the AI journey. They're not this AI expert yet. But if offer will invest more in learning about AI, invest more in trying, in sharing, asking questions, and gradually using it more and more and more, eventually he will become an Adir. Thank you so much. You have my contact details here. Feel free to reach out in any of those mediums. Happy to talk about AI and many other technological topics. You can also scan this barcode. It will get you to a recording of this lecture, as well as other lectures and different materials and presentations that I tend to share with the public. All right, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was practical, and may the AI be with you. Goodbye.
Hello.
Yes, hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining our Q&A. First of all, about your talk, it's crazy in a good way, and it's super cool to see what Cursor and Devin can do, seeing AI doing all this thing on Jira and Slack and like code review. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I think our audience also very curious about this topic as well. We've seen some questions coming up. Let's jump straight into it, I think. So the first question that we have for you, how do you decide which tools or technologies to adopt for your company? If developers build custom tools, could that lead to issues from a lack of standardization?
Yeah, that's a good question. So most of the tools that we encourage our developers to write are internal tools that are supposed to kind of boost their workflows, help them do reduce repetitive work or some manual tasks. So usually in those type of tools, we don't really care about code quality or standards. It's not like production code where multiple team members are working on it, where we have customers that are expecting a brilliant product. I mean, you saw the examples, the fact we have a small indication on a Slack message if a code review have been approved. It's nice, but if it will break, if it won't work, that's not the biggest issue in the world. However, we do share all the different achievements in a Slack channel. We call it "I've built something with AI," and it's shared across the entire company. It's again, if you just saw in the presentation that I'm a huge advocate of sharing and over communicating, especially achievements and success stories. It makes people kind of see and take inspiration and say, "Hey, I actually have a similar idea, but I want to do something else," and that basically encourage them to do that. So since we are sharing those things, people are starting to do those things, and sometimes, in some cases, other people just ask and follow-up questions and kind of say, "Hey, I saw you created this tool that can do this and this. Is it possible to just add this thing instead of replicating and doing another thing?" So since it's internally, there are a lot of communication and collaboration around those stuff. And I'd rather be in a position where I have too many tools at this point in time when people not adopting AI as much as they can.
Thank you for your answer. We have the next questions. That is, I've been using Rovo to help me write my tickets. Oh, I never heard of Rovo before. Interesting. But I've stumbled into issues where it just replaces everything instead of using the provided template. What is your workflow with writing tickets with Rovo specifically?
So that's a great question, and it sounds from someone with experience trying Rovo. Rovo is a wonderful tool for getting answers. And this is also what I presented in my presentation. I specifically showed how new employees are asking questions, how anyone in the company can kind of get more context, get more information, understand a chain of events, a post-mortem that led to an action item that led to a series of different tasks. This is a wonderful ability of Robo. I totally agree that it is not as good in following orders and actually creating creating tickets and making this stuff easier. We tried several approaches, and frankly, if the template is too complex, it usually will mess it up. So we usually use it for more like easier areas. For example, when we are at a quarterly planning and we created a bunch of initiatives, usually the template is very clear. It's a title, it's a short summary, maybe a KPI, a leading metric. That's it, and that it usually follows brilliantly. However, when we need to kind of bulk create different bugs where we have, I don't know, like 15 different fields that needs to be assigned, it usually will not follow through. And unfortunately, this tool isn't as good for this job at this moment. But we all need to remember a great thing, that the AI we have today is the worst AI we will have, because AI improves in tremendous amount and very fast, and every day something happens. So I believe they will make it better.
Thank you. Yeah, I also hope they will evolve. That's a good tip on Rovo. Next question. Why do you consider Cursor to be a turning point? What are your thoughts on GitHub Copilot agent mode?
Good question. So we all remember GitHub Copilot before the agent mode. It was a crazy thing because suddenly we could autocomplete things and we could ask questions, but it never actually helped in writing sophisticated multi-files stuff. And especially, it wasn't good in refactoring existing code. For me, the Cursor was the turning point because it allowed exactly that. You could assign it a task, and it understood the code base not only to add a function or autocomplete something, but to actually delete two files, change a service, extract a parameter, and modify some signature of a function. And that was actually a completely different way of collaborating with AI, unlike just autocompleting. My thought, but this is it's a joke we have in my team, that I was the first person to say that that's not, Cursor is nice, but Microsoft Copilot will definitely kind of bridge the gap and become the leading platform because they have a giant and they know how to build great products. To this point, Cursor still leads because they just build, they can understand the actual needs of developers, and this is why kind of they still outperform any other IDE. I saw that there is another question about other editors. I tried all of them, Windsurf and Kirby and Kodo, and I still think that Cursor is the leading and the best one. It keeps improving, and again, also Copilot keeps improving, just not in the pace that I would expect. So for me, Cursor is still the turning point for this entire revolution of how we develop software at scale.
Yeah, I also agree. I was using Final Copilot for so long, and then I switched to Cursor. It was really mind blowing. Yes. So we have a next question. Could you suggest a list of AI editors, tools such as Cursor, along with any free alternatives?
So as I just mentioned, I think that Cursor is the best one. There are a bunch of others. Frankly, I still think that Cursor is the best one. If I remember correctly, Cursor has the free version where you can kind of add your own API key. It just has, different restrictions like privacy and stuff like that. So if you're developing for yourself or working on some open source project, I think it's a very good alternative, probably the best one. But if you need something, like if you're still looking for other alternatives, I would still recommend Cursor at this point.
Yeah. All right. We still have a few minutes for another question. Great talk, Dennis. Yay, lots of
you.
inspiration to use AI in meaningful ways. As an engineer, I still have this feeling of cheating when using AI to write code. What's your advice on how to deal with this personally and in a team?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually have, and I shared the QR code of my previous talk of what happens when engineers rely too much on AI And then it becomes worse than cheating because you start to vibe code into production and lose control over the code that's being written. And AI writes a lot of code really fast. So suddenly you bloat up the entire repository and you lose control. And that's the worst thing that can happen. So as engineers, we still need to own the code. We still have to be in control. The AI can be a starting point. So you can open up Cursor, paste the Jira ticket, or use MCP, whatever, and let it create a plan, let it write the code. But it's on us, on all of us, all of the engineers, to go through every line and understand what's going on. AI still makes mistakes. And at 2 a.m. at night, when we have a production incident, Cursor will most likely not help us. We need to know exactly what's going on and how to fix it fast. So ownership is still on the human side. Having said that, you should not feel that you're cheating using AI. If we'll roll back 10 years ago, Stack Overflow was the thing, and people were gonna, hey, you're just copy pasting from Stack Overflow. And it was bad because you shouldn't copy paste. You need to understand what's going on. So here, instead of browsing to a different site, learning how to ask questions in Stack Overflow, scrolling through the different answers, you get it. You get the complete thing almost, but it's still on us to leverage this power, but be in control and remain the ownership on the human side.
Right. Thank you so much for your answers. We unfortunately don't have more time for questions, but if your questions haven't been answered, you can always reach out to Dennis on his socials.
Exactly.
And yeah, thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye.